The playoff race just got crazier. In one of the tightest seasons we have seen as far as seeding, things are about to shake up again, as for many teams, the injury bug is about to be cured, which are going to put many teams back at full strength. First, let's talk about the most injury-plagued team of the year, the New York Knicks. Since Julius Randle's injury, New York has managed to stay afloat. Honestly, this team has had some of its most exciting basketball in years, mostly thanks to Jalen Brunson, someone who I think genuinely should have been in the MVP conversation and probably would have been in the conversation if it was any other year. But Mitchell Robinson is returning and getting healthy after missing about 50 games, as well as their new young star OG Anunoby. Anunoby has been cleared for contact play, and there's hope that he could be back in the lineup by the first round. In March, this Knicks team had a defensive rating of 105.9. They had the second best defense in the NBA without OG, without Randle, and without Robinson. When the Knicks were healthy, having OG, Brunson, and Randle, they went 15-2. OG returning doesn't make this team a contender, but you're giving this team a 15-point per game scorer, a 37% three-point shooter, and you're giving one of the best defenses, one of the best defenders in the entire league. I do see this team probably around a second-round exit, but I think they could turn some heads and possibly upset a team like Milwaukee. One of the most forgotten stars in the league, Trae Young, is also close to returning. While Atlanta is a play-in team, we know what they are capable of as they have escaped the tournament in the last 2 years. I think Trae can give them that boost to get over the hump, but there's still probably going to be a first-round exit. What's interesting though is that the Hawks had a -3 net rating when Young was active, but that has jumped to being positive by 2 points after his injury. The team was 22-29 with Trae Young, and they've done better without him, going 14-12. This is incredibly interesting to note, and depending on the play in the play-in games in the playoffs, we could see the Hawks doing some movement with either Young or DeJounte Murray. And one thing that has to have Pelicans fans excited is that we are near to see the return of Brandon Ingram. His injury against the Magic a few weeks ago made some worry that he was going to be done for the season, but right now he may return back from a bone contusion before the playoffs start. This would be huge for New Orleans. The Pelicans have gone 3-4 without Ingram and are just a game away from the play-in tournament. Without his 21, 5, and 6 per game, I could see them slipping down to the 7, 8, or even the 9 seed. Ingram getting back would make them an even better team in the tournament and put them in position for a first-round upset. And speaking of a team that could be an upset in the first round, Karl-Anthony Towns could be returning from a meniscus tear right before the playoffs begin. Now, what's interesting is that without Cat, the Timberwolves have continued their season success, going 10-4 since his tear. Minnesota would be looking to benefit from his spacing and size, and with Rudy Gobert having a tendency to get bullied in the playoffs, having another big like Cat to rely on could be huge for Minnesota. Personally, I think this Minnesota team has a chance of getting upset depending on the results of the play-in tournament, but Karl-Anthony Towns returning from injury can be the difference between a first-round upset and the championship run. And also on meniscus tears is Joel Embiid. Embiid has made a return after being ruled out in late January, and since his injury in January, the 76ers have gone 11-18 without Embiid. However, earlier this year, he was on a historic pace, looking to be a 2-time MVP with the 76ers going 28-8. Now, Philadelphia is on the brink of the play-in tournament. Embiid was off to a slow start in just his 2 games back. He's playing less minutes, which isn't that surprising, but he still just hasn't looked quite right yet. Albeit, Joel Embiid being a little bit off is still better than 90% of the league, but he isn't moving as fast and his conditioning still needs to be improved. In the 2 games he's returned in, he's shooting less than 45% from the field with a negative plus-minus. However, the 76ers are 2-0 with big wins over the Heat and the Thunder. I think this team is better than what their current 8th seed suggests, and assuming that Embiid continues to get better and healthier for the playoffs, I think the Philadelphia 76ers might just be a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they can give a team like the Bucks or the Cavs a run for their money, assuming that Joel Embiid shows up in the playoffs. Staying in the East, Tyler Herro is also close to returning from a foot injury. Before that injury, he was averaging 20 points per game while having a career year from 3. He had also started to show promise in the rest of his game, mostly on defense and in navigating the pick and roll. His return comes at the perfect time as Miami is a half game out of the 6th seed, but we know what they did last year and we know what they are capable of in the playoffs. Tyler Herro returning means they are en route to pulling off another upset and another magical playoff run. And for the team that beat the Miami Heat last season, the Denver Nuggets have been missing Jamal Murray Murray for the last 7 games as he's been out with a knee injury. Murray's speculated to come back before the playoffs start, and he could help Denver secure a 2 seed. I think Murray coming back healthy from his injury will either make or break the Nuggets. Their bench this season has not been the greatest, and their non-Jokic minutes have been incredibly rough stretches. Jamal Murray usually does a great job in keeping the team alive without the Joker, and few players in NBA history raise their games in the playoffs as consistently as Jamal Murray. In his last 39 playoff games, he has been averaging 6 more points per game while making a higher percentage of his shots. I'm expecting that will continue this year, and that Michael Malone is going to be relying on Murray to play 40 minutes a game en route for them trying to repeat. And for all the players who are coming back, I want to highlight a few that have remained surprisingly healthy. Kawhi Leonard has played the most amount of games in a season since 2017, currently playing 68. While the Clippers have been rocky this season with big wins and embarrassing losses, with Paul George remaining healthy and having a player option this offseason, this might be the last year we see of this era of Clippers basketball. Honestly, this is a team that could underplay and lose in the first round, or their stars can get it together and they can shock the West. But I will say, Kawhi Leonard has missed the last few games due to knee soreness. Hopefully this is nothing big and he can still be himself in the playoffs. Another surprising year of health has actually been in the Los Angeles Lakers. I talked about this in my last video, so I won't say much here. Anthony Davis has been healthy for an entire season, and at 72 games, he is just 4 games away from playing the most of his entire career. And for LeBron, he's obviously showing his age, but he has already played the most amount of games in his Laker career. Los Angeles has a ton of questions going into the play-in tournament, and I don't see a 39-year-old LeBron leading them anywhere either. However, if I have earned a 1 or a 2 seed, I would not want to be facing a healthy LeBron or Anthony Davis in the first round of the playoffs. Speaking of health, Bradley Beal, after having a rough start to the season, has remained healthy, playing in the Suns' last 17 games. Kevin Durant has actually played the most amount of games of his career since his Achilles tear, and Devin Booker has played more compared to last year, and he is close to the threshold of 65 games. Despite their recent health and play, the Suns have still been a questionable team all year. Recently, they got big wins over the Nuggets and Cavs, but also had embarrassing losses to the Rockets, the Spurs without Wembanyama, and the Celtics twice. Even when this team is at their peak strength, they are a historically bad fourth quarter team. Even as a Suns fan, they have yet to prove to me that they're an actual contender, but if they get hot at the right time, they might just be able to turn some heads. Even the Golden State Warriors have gotten healthy after a rough start, posing the longest win streak in the NBA. However, they will still have to fight their way out of the play-in to have a chance of winning it all again. And lastly, the surprise team of the year, the Oklahoma City Thunder, have also remained incredibly healthy. Despite Shea and Jalen Williams missing a few games, these injuries are still seen as minor enough that they should see a playoff return. Unless you're the Memphis Grizzlies, then this season has been a relatively healthy season when regarding star players. We are set for an exciting time as stars like Tyler Herro, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Joel Embiid are back after missing months of play. Teams like the Pelicans and Nuggets have managed to hang around while waiting for their stars to return, and other teams like the Clippers, Lakers, and Suns have shocked people by being so healthy, but still on their own have plenty of questions that need to be answered in these playoffs. This NBA year has already been incredibly tight, and a lack of significant injuries keeps the competition even closer, making me think that this will be one of the most competitive postseasons in NBA history.